Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John. We're looking at John chapter 11, which tells us the story of the raising of Lazarus from the dead. Now, we started the chapter in yesterday's session. Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha, had sent word to Jesus that your friend, the one you love, is sick. They want Jesus to come to bring healing because Lazarus is very, very sick, near death. We know that Jesus was very close to this family. And we also know that he would spend time with them when he was in the village of Bethany where they lived. And so it's natural they sent the word to Jesus, come. But it's interesting how Jesus responds once he receives the message. Let's start reading at verse 4. Now when Jesus heard this, that is, that Lazarus was sick, he said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. In other words, Jesus knows what is going to unfold. He understands that all this that will happen, this sign, the wonder of raising Lazarus, will reflect to the glory of God through the Son. Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. Now, I'm sure his disciples were rather surprised. He had already told them this will not end in death. Of course, he's talking about the resurrection. They don't know that. But then when he stays 2 more days, they're kind of surprised. He doesn't go immediately if he's going to help Lazarus. And then when he says, let's go back to Judea now, they're surprised. Well, you didn't go at first. Why are we going a couple of days later? Rabbi, they said, a short while ago, the Jews there were trying to stone you, and yet you're going back. Perhaps they assumed Jesus didn't go back immediately because of the danger that was there as they perceived it. Remember last time he was there, they tried to stone him because they thought he was saying blasphemy, claiming to be equal with the Father. And so they assumed his reluctance to go back was because of the danger. Of course, it wasn't. He's thinking about the miracle that's going to come. But that's what they naturally assumed. And so they say, are you now going back? And Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by the light of the world. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, then they have no light. After he had said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. I am going there to wake him up. His disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So Jesus tells them plain, listen, he's asleep, and I'm going to go wake him up. He is telling them, he's prophetically telling them about the resurrection that is about to occur. He's going to raise Lazarus. Of course, they don't understand that. They assume he's just talking about resting, sleeping. That would be good for him. If he's been sick, a good rest. No, he's died. You're about to see a miracle. So Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. Let us go to him. Now Thomas, who is also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. So finally, Jesus just tells them plainly, I'm speaking of his death. Lazarus is dead. This sickness has claimed his life. I'm going to go, though, and raise him. That's what he meant by waking him up. And Jesus says, it's good this happened. Not that death is good, but you're going to see the power of God as you've never seen it before. You're going to see a miracle, wondrous. All this is pointing ahead to Easter. They don't know that yet, but they will. But you're about to see this wonder. So it's going to be good for you to increase your faith. Of course, they still don't get it. That's why Thomas says, let's go with him and die with him. They assume they can't do Lazarus any good. That's what Thomas assumes. He's already gone. And it'll probably end in Jesus' death. They assume. They knew the opposition. But at least Thomas is willing to die with him if necessary. At least he thinks he is. So the disciples are prepared to go. And so they set off for Bethany. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. He knew he was already dead. He's already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come from there to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. Martha heard that Jesus was coming, and she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. So Jesus arrives. He's already in the grave. They're in that period of mourning. Many have come to comfort Mary and Martha. Now Jesus has come. Martha hears that he's on the scene. She knows it's too late, or she thinks it's too late. But at least Jesus has come to provide them some comfort, and she goes to meet them. Mary probably has also heard this, but she's so overcome with grief she can't even get up and go meet Jesus. They're deep in grief, but oh, the power of God is about to be displayed. The scene is set for this wonderful miracle, this raising of Lazarus. So keep looking at this tomorrow. So I hope you join us for our next session in our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John.